Hi, this is Sam Guan with Siemens Digital Industry Software. Today, I will review with you how to create a technical drawing inside of our Design Center NX. I'll be using this simple subassembly. I'll talk about using layer control to assist me in creating views, how to add attribute, how to create views into my drawing, and then the scale, and then adding additional sheets, and then adding a bill of material in my drawing, how to edit title block. When it's view out of date, how do I do that? I'm going to start using what we call the master model approach. So in this case, what master model does basically, whether it be a component or subassembly, I can pull information into the different file and work in concurrent. So I could have one person doing one, other person doing the other, whether it be analysis or in manufacturing. Once I have these capabilities inside of my understanding in the context of Teamcenter, I'll be able to do this. So in this case, I have a simple assembly, and each assembly is comprised of different components. I'm going to quickly highlight what they are. As you see, I also have my layer definition turned on. So in this case, I've already predefined all the layers in specific locations of each layer. So now what I want to do is I want to move these fasteners to another layer, whether it be a common practice within the company, or I want to use that to control my display of my component. I will quickly review what some of the views that are already being created inside of this master subassembly. So I see that there is an exploder view that's already been created. This is a very common practice to assist understand how these parts are being assembled together. So once we approach this, we're going to go ahead and create a new drawing. In this case, in the context of a Teamcenter, we'll be using a specification. So I decide to select a particular size that will need to fit what I'm trying to create. Once I selected that specification, and know it is referenced to the subassembly, so I want to go ahead and generate that. Once we come in here, it'll give us the title block creation capability. Then we go ahead and populate that information. Next, you want to do is just start adding view. We notice that when we add a view, as we scroll down, it's coming from this base assembly. So it is pulling views from there. If we see, we're not pulling a view from this drawing, and then here's all my view option. I do see my exploder view, but when I see that on the display, we see that that did not capture the explosion from that view that was previously defined. This function and capability will be available later on in the future release of Design Center. Next thing, what we want to do is synchronize all the layers that are previously defined in my subassembly. We right mouse click, select the subassembly. We see that there's a property. Under the property, there's a assembly tab. So let's synchronize the layers. Once we select that, you notice that it changed from original down to the layer that was specified earlier in my subassembly. So once that is done, let's make sure all of our geometry is visible, and then we want to go ahead and add the view. In this case, we want to add an exploder view that has previously created at the drawing level of this. So I'm going to go and add the base view. I'm going to reference to the drawing file, not to the subassembly die, because in here I've created exploder view. We see that view is being added. We select a proper view scale, then we can add that. So once that is added, we see that is properly defined. A lot of times that as a personal preference, I don't like to see the view border so dominating in my drawing. So I come out into preferences in a drafting. I can go ahead and change my border color to a lighter gray color. So the color is still there, but it's just a lot more faint and be able to see the border still, but without dominating my drawing. So now I want to go ahead and create my parts list, properly extend and expand that to a proper size that I'm comfortable with. So now I want to show the not only the build of material, but also the balloon call out. Right mouse click on the view, then we can add that directly into that. The next thing we want to do is we want to create a revision block. So that is a very typical behavior of a drawing, that we have a revision block. So I create a basically tabulated note, combine the very first row of that. I want to call that revisions. And then I want to come back and add all the other standard practice, whether it be ASME or ANSI or whatever standard that you're practicing, to add all the different subcategory into that. And then I want to pull that properly to display that, whether it be bold, whether it be description, the width and all that to match. That is part of our specified in the standard that I'm following. So once that is done, I want to just place that in the top right corner of my drawing. I hang it over there. So now I have my revisions. Next thing we want to do is go ahead, add a attribute information in my title block. So under my title block, I have third angle projection information is already there, but my title block information is not there. So I want to do a right mouse click on the properties, go into my subassembly. I see that in the attribute field, the title block is empty. So I'm going to go ahead, just quickly type in what my title block naming is. The minute I select apply, it fills in that. So that's how in the drawing information that we filled out all the attribute information that is available. Now I'm ready to add a second sheet. So do an MB3 on the drawing. I want to go ahead, insert sheet. I want to use consistently of the A1 drawing. So that's going to add a second sheet to this particular specification on sheet 2. So I don't need to create all the populate the title block. That information is already there on sheet 1. What I want to do is I want to make that selectable. So I'm going to my layer. In my layer setting, that is viewable but not selectable. So I want to go ahead and select 256. Now I can select that, do an MB3, and do an edit definition. So once I do an edit definition, I can select edit table. When I select edit table, that'll give me that capability to do something. So I want to drag onto this all the way down to the bottom, doing mouse button 3. I just want to go ahead and merge the cell, because I don't need to have that information available. And likewise, I can come in and insert a title later on. So that will conclude that portions of it. Now what I want to just quickly insert the subassembly views. Once I have the proper scale defined, I can project from the base to the one view to the top, one view to the right. So now that is sheet 2. So let's go ahead and select a sheet 3. So I want to go ahead, do an insert sheet again. This time, same thing with A1. So now I want to come in and follow this practice into a sheet 3. So in sheet 3, same thing. I don't need to populate that information, but I do want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and add my base view. So this is where some of the layer settings become critical. So now I can select a particular component from a display part. So currently those parts are loaded, so I can use that. But the minute I add that particular view in my assembly structure, you will see that will be indicating, hey, you are grabbing a particular component and adding that component to this drawing. So I don't want to have that tagged on as part of my bill of material, even though it does not show up in the bill of material, but on the assembly navigator that will show up. So that is that particular approach. By selecting that, now you can be able to do that. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and just do a right mouse click and go ahead and just remove that. Let's use a different method by adding a detail component view. So first we add any particular view. We want to go using layer visible view option that is inside the system. I want to go and select that view and I want to go ahead and deactivate or make those invisible. Once I select apply, we see that all we see is that particular component. So now we can do update view. All the geometry will be gone. But however, we want to do minor cleaned up some of those center marks that were there already. I just want to go ahead and remove that. Once that is done, I'll be able to use this particular view with only specify layer that is visible. So in this case, I want to go ahead and project this to the top and also to the right. That's how quickly I can use this particular method to create a detailed view of the drawing in the context of the assembly. What we want to do next is just go ahead and start add some of the critical dimensions. So let's go back into the assembly sheet. So that'll be sheet 2. I want to go ahead and just create some assembly dimension that's critical for the overall assembly information that is required on the drawing. So we can add the dimensions. Once that dimension is added, we can come back whether it be correcting the tolerance or by adding a tolerance while I'm adding dimensions. So in this case, I want to add some tolerance, make sure that some options are available. So I can come in there, add some of the tolerance and specify what the tolerance may be. So that's how I go about creating these type of assembly dimensions that I can utilize for the assemble of this subsystem in any situation. So by doing so, I want to go ahead and do that first. And then when I am done, I'll come back and do the same thing at the detail level in creating detailed dimension as well. Like what I previously created. So now at the detail views, I want to go ahead and just add some of the dimensions that is critical for dimensioning or defining this detail component shape and size. So I can add the tolerance while I'm creating a dimension. So I can add some of those tolerance, define what would be upper band or lower band of a tolerance in this. So I want to go ahead and just add these dimensions to all these different views to showcase that. Next thing what we want to do is want to make some design changes. Whenever there's a design change, that obviously will affect on my specification or my drawing. So I want to go ahead and just make a quick design change using a synchronous method. I want to go ahead and change the size of this particular cover. So I want to update that cover to increase that size a little bit. Then we'll see that as we come back into the drawing, we'll see that you will see a clock icon symbol that is shown up at the drawing level. So we go back into the drawing, we see that at the part navigator, and we see that clock. We can select a drawing and just double click on it, and every view and every sheet will update correctly. Now, what we want to just take a look at from each sheet perspective. So I want to go back to sheet 1 and go to sheet 2. Same thing, update that. We notice that there's a change. So that's another way for me to see that. On sheet 3, there was no change affected on that, so you will not see any changes that need to be done. So in conclusion, to create a technical drawing inside Design Center NX, we quickly review how this part came to be. How do we add some information in our title block, create a bill of material? How do we change the border of that? And also add a revision block. And also we created different sheets. We have sheet 2, which is assembly drawings. Inside of that, we have all the different dimensions and views. And then likewise in a detail view. This is how we create a technical drawing inside a Design Center. Thank you.